Howdy fellow crafters, and welcome to episode 2. Gonna spice it up by trying to get some personality in this. I was a little bland in my first video and just coming out of the last year, not feeling too great, but it's 2018, so Happy New Year, and we're gonna make some interesting projects. This is gonna kick off the second episode and kick off the first episode of what I'm calling Guerrilla Foamsmithing, where, as stated in the previous video, we're going to take simple equipment, like I'm going to take a BMX shin guard, and we're going to actually turn it into this. I don't know if it's really easy to see on camera, but basically I took, I don't know, with the light, a old plastic, it was like for BMX and biking and you know, that kind of stuff. And I just layered foam on it to kind of get a base shell of a shin guard. That I'm going to turn into a space Viking thing for the LARP I go to. Because I'm a nerd. Which, if you're watching this, you're probably a nerd too, but, you know, whatever. We're going to take over the world. It'll be fine. I digress. What I'm going to show you in this first episode is just the basic construction of cutting out pieces. I used the 4mm foam that I talked about in the previous video of materials. And all this is 4 pieces stacked together, starting with bottom piece and working our way up. The only tricky part is maybe a fold, which I will show you. The only word of warning I have to go over is that all of the footage I took for that was shot on my cell phone because the camera with which is filming me right now was a gift I got for Christmas. So, oops! I was planning on filming most of this stuff with my cell phone, and the quality is just doesn't compare. So hopefully it'll be enough to get the point across. But for now, let's just get into the first part, which is construction of this. The next video will hopefully be the detailing with either wood burning into it or using the 1mm foam to get those details. So let's get to it.
So of course the first step in the process is to cut out your segmented pieces. I was doing these plate patterns here, kind of just did them ad hoc. I did quick measurements just to make sure that each piece was going to overlay the next one by about 1 inch or 1.5 inches, and that the top lip of this piece in my hand right here is going to fit on the bottom portion of the leg guard. Of course, here I'm using the 6mm foam. Really was kind of a quick decision on my part as far as thinking it was easy to heat up, and the floor mat foam would have taken a little bit longer to prepare on both sides with sanding. So I'm really not regretting this choice. I think you can get a lot of really good products out of the 6mm foam. Next step, of course, was to heat up the foam. You can see here in the video the difference between the heated portions and the unheated portions. Not only does this close up the cells, this is going to make it easy to shape. You're going to want to get the whole piece nice and hot, get ready to start shaping once it's all kind of very easy to manipulate. And that's what I'm doing here. Just going to start bending it on both sides. You can also fold down the middle to make a more dramatic curve to it, but you got to work it for at least a couple of minutes. As you can see here, the shape is retaining pretty well. It has cooled, so there's no need to keep it heated. Right here I'm lining it up with the bottom of the BMX shin guard just to see where the lip is going to overlap when I get ready to glue. Just to kind of make sure that everything, it's lining up with the masterpiece that I built. And we're going to just kind of get ready to get everything segmented. Of course, you're going to need your respirator. Without that, you're going to breathe in a lot of fumes. As far as the brushes I use, I get these cheap foam brushes from Michael's. I used to get a lot from my previous job. They're very cheap, very easy to work with. When taking the glue on, you're going to want to make sure that you're not overly bombarding the surface area with glue. As far as the drying time increases with how much you put on there. So if you keep a very little amount on there, almost to a film, you're not only preventing the drying time from being too excessive, it's also going to create a stronger bond. The chemical agent itself is sort of oxygen activated, and you need to make sure you get both surfaces prepped. As you can see here, I went back with the brush and taken off the excess to make sure it's a small film, very small layer of it. Of course, we have to get the other side ready. As you can see there, I went and marked the 1.5 inch point from the bottom of the shin guard just to make sure that only the area that I was preparing to glue was going to be affected. If you go too overboard, going over areas that you're not ready to build with, then when you're in the process of gluing, you may mess up. This stuff doesn't have a very long working time, and the bond is almost instant, so you're going to want to make sure that you reduce your margin of error as best as possible. Here I'm lining up the center point on both pieces just to make sure that I'm as close to center as possible. When gluing, this stuff is pressure activated, so in the case of this where you have a curve, it's best to start with the center. You apply pressure on the center, and then you'll work your way around towards the edges. You're not going to want to start with the edge because you can sort of, as you're going around the curve, it may not be centered. So it's very important to pick a good starting point and then work your way around. The glue is also going to help retain the shape of the foam piece. As you can see here, it sort of works like a laminate, but it's still important to activate that pressure. And as you can see here, it's pretty well bonded. As long as you keep applying the pressure, you're not going to have any issues. I went ahead and glued the rest of the piece there and lined up the rest of my segments. And of course, as you can see, I went up and over. With a piece like this, at the top, I wanted to make sure it curved inward towards my knee, so I cut out a divot there and glued the inside pieces together. This is going to give you curves, which I'll go more into in future videos when we're making curved pieces out of the floor mat foam.
Okay, so hopefully the video that you saw kind of illustrates the point of just how to build something very simple with even the in-between material that's the 4mm foam. That you don't necessarily need to go with the 10mm floor mat foam or the TNT cosplay foam, but we will get into builds with those too. I just wanted to do something that was very simple and very quick. This was kind of really on a whim to just kind of see what I could build using another piece as a base. Now if you're following along, you don't have to do it exactly how I do it. I usually always do a plate pattern where I will start with each segment and layer it on, so you get something that looks a lot like this. You could attempt to do this with one piece or multiple pieces that are actually flush, and then you sand out the seams to make it look like one solid piece. The other goal here is that this is a very rough build. As far as the future for this, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to keep the plates or if I wanted to actually take car body filler and other materials and actually rub it over the seams to actually smooth out the entire piece, and then go back later with either the wood burning knife or the 1mm foam and put details on it that way. Really, it's up to you. And in the future, I do intend on having videos on how to incorporate more advanced material into your foam craft. Like the body filler, I also use fiberglass resin, and then even fiberglass itself to bring your craft from a level of cheap foam production to almost high quality prop fabrication. That's something that I'm very excited to do. It's something that I feel like I'm qualified to do, that my background is in construction. So again, thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, spread the word. Again, we got a lot of good momentum on the first day of 2018, so I'm really optimistic and I'm really excited to kind of see where this goes. And again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, criticisms, whatever. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video. And as always, keep it nerdy. As always. It's not too late to do slogans, right? Right? Whatever. Keep crafting. I'll see you in the next one. Guest starring Taco the dog. This is not the official mascot of Wolf and Raven Arts, but she should be.